Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the webinar on New Zealand. The webinar will begin shortly. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the webinar on New Zealand. The webinar will begin in 5 minutes. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the webinar on New Zealand. Thank you so much for taking out your valuable time to attend the webinar. We are now joined by Ms. Darshana Seth, Market Development Manager in India for Tourism New Zealand. She will offer insights into the various tourist offerings of New Zealand. Darshana is based out of Mumbai, has been working with Tourism New Zealand for over 9 years, undertaking market and trade development activities across the country. After the webinar, we will move to the question and answer round. where Darshana will address all your queries. Just a quick note on logistics. You are all kept on mute mode. And in case if you have any queries, please type in your queries in the chat box on your screen, and your questions will be answered at the end of the webinar.
Kia ora. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Darshana, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time out to attend this presentation on New Zealand. Welcome to the youngest country on earth. Welcome to 100% pure New Zealand. So where exactly is New Zealand? Yes, that's where we are, a tiny island nation set apart from the rest of the world. We are about 3.5 hours from Australia, and to reach New Zealand from India, it would roughly take about 18 hours on a flight. That's because we do not have any direct carriers at the moment, but we are well connected to the country via the Far Eastern points, namely Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, and even China. So remember, if there's a country that you're traveling that far, you will need to keep sufficient number of days in your hand to enjoy your holiday, because one whole day is needed to get to the country. A bit of fun facts on New Zealand. The population of New Zealand is about 4.7 million. Yes, you heard that right, which means just over 15 people per square kilometer. What you see in the image here is the country, and the country is divided into 3 islands, the North Island, the South Island, and a tiny island called the Stewart Island. About 75% of the people live in the North Island. New Zealand is a very outdoor destination. You have to really go outside and live the beauty. 1/3 of the country is protected by national parks, which is why it's very famous for its walking trails. Wellington is the capital city of New Zealand and is the southernmost capital city in the world. There are 3 official languages in New Zealand: English, Maori, and the Sign Language, and hence it's a very popular destination amongst Indian travelers because we don't come across any language barriers. Lake Taupo is the same size as Singapore. It's a lake and it's located in the heart of the North Island. So if you just have a look in the map, which is on your screen, you could see something which is in the center, a blue lake, and that's Lake Taupo. For every 1 person in New Zealand, there are about 13 sheep and 4 cows. So yes, the population of the cattle is more than the human population. So there's a lot of wide open spaces for your travelers to be in. We undertake a lot of research as a tourism body, and India as a market is of prime importance. Indian arrivals to New Zealand are steadily growing, and we're actually sitting at over 50,000, growing at above 13% over the previous years. The search website Skyscanner showed that New Zealand was the most searched travel destination amongst Indian travelers. It showed a 52% increase in the number of searches for New Zealand compared to this time last year. This simply means that people are trying to get more information about New Zealand as their next holiday destination. We'd also roped in Siddharth Malhotra, the Bollywood star, as our brand ambassador. During his time in New Zealand, 2.8 million people engaged via social media, including 57,000 people engaging with each of his Facebook posts. So every time he put a post or a comment or uploaded a picture, people actively reacted on that image. We also have something called the active considerers of New Zealand. By this, we simply mean these are the pool of people who are most definitely going to visit New Zealand in the next 1 year. So India, as a market, we have approximately 13.5 million active considerers located in the prime metros of Mumbai, New Delhi, and Bangalore. When active considerers ranked New Zealand as a preferred destination, 76% put New Zealand in their top 2, which means out of the 13.5 million people, 76% think of it as a destination that they want to visit immediately. They also see New Zealand as strong on landscapes and scenery. So basically 90%, over 90% of the people who actually think of New Zealand for their next holiday is because they know it's a country that's blessed with beautiful landscapes and spectacular scenery. Safety, getting around within New Zealand, and availability of preferred food are some of the top barriers while visiting New Zealand as suggested by research. This is not the reality, but perception. So when our travelers are looking out for information, these are the topics that they actually look out for. The market segments. We typically cater to the 4 main segments listed here: young adventurers, honeymooners, family travelers, and MICE or corporate groups. So young adventurers would be typically people who would be urban couples or singles who prefer their own self-drive holiday, which means renting a car and driving, and undertaking a range of experiences such as scenic cruises, skydiving, bungee, jet boating, and experiences which are related to nature, walking trails. They don't want to sit in a coach. They want to breathe the natural beauty, so they prefer driving. Honeymooners. This is one of our top segments. Younger urban couples looking for a romantic honeymoon vacation. They prefer self-drive and undertake helicopter, cruise, adventure, nature experiences. Slightly higher priced experiences. They like to stay in good quality 5-star hotels or luxury lodges. The next segment would be families, which would mean 30 to 59-year-olds who travel with children or grandchildren as a family group, or even sometimes friends traveling together and making it as one big ad hoc group. It would be a mixture of both FIT and GIT. This particular segment is a second top segment, and that they would be traveling typically from April, May, and June. And finally, the MICE segment, wherein groups ranging in size from 50 to 500, and they're looking out for security, value, access, amenities, entertainment, and very importantly, Indian food, which is very widely available in New Zealand. Moving on to visa requirements. So do your clients need a visa to enter New Zealand? Yes, they do need a visa. Indian passport holders do require the valid visas for holiday travel to New Zealand. We've got immigration offices in Bombay and a high commission in New Delhi. So the Western cases or the Southern Indian passport holders would be all catered in Mumbai, whereas North and East would be through New Delhi. On an average, they say they need 15 working days to process a visa case. Depending on the load, they would take slightly higher, but most of the time, they try to turn out cases much faster than the time given. The currency of New Zealand is a New Zealand dollar. That's roughly about 46 to 48 INR. Apart from that, all major credit cards are accepted. There are plenty of ATM machines. There would be a GST applicable of 15% that on certain goods you can claim it back. And tipping is not compulsory. Only if you feel there is an extraordinary service that's rendered, then it's okay to tip. Otherwise, the locals feel that tipping is actually corrupting the whole system. So if it's a normal service that they've given, need not tip. What can New Zealand offer? Like the images say, every day a different journey. It's a very diverse country. So it's a very small country, but there's a lot to offer. If you want to go on top of a snow-capped mountain peak, fine. You can do walking trails. We've got it all. You want to indulge in some adventure activities. Yes, we have it. You want to just stare at a lake or see the clouds passing by. You can do that. You want to go visit some forest walks, sand duning, just leisurely activities, wine tasting. The country has it all. So, in fact, being a compact country, it has a lot to offer. The scenery changes dramatically from region to region. So the traveler never gets bored. Warm and friendly people. Kiwis are known for their hospitality. The tour guides, the hotels take a keen interest in making your customer's holiday a memorable one. Safe, secure, and a stable destination. It's a very warm and friendly nation. People really know New Zealand as a country which is very warm. People take a keen interest, like I said, excellent for single women travelers to explore the country on their own. Every Indian traveler who visits a foreign destination wants to know a little about the cultural aspects of that country, and New Zealand has that to offer in the form of a Maori culture. Maoris were original inhabitants that set foot into New Zealand much before the Westerners came here. You can learn a bit of their culture typically in the North Island and in places like Rotorua. Let's move on to geography and climate. New Zealand is a small country, but not that small. So like we covered initially, the country is divided into two main islands and a small island, third small island rather. The two main islands would be the north and the south. Stewart Island, which is a tiny third island, is at the bottom, right at the bottom. Stewart Island typically would be something very similar to our Andaman and Nicobar Islands, where eco-conservation is of prime importance. The government wants to protect the land the way it was first discovered. So a lot of our travelers tend to spend time only in the North and the South Island. There would be some repeat clients who would then opt for Stewart Island. But a first-time traveler to New Zealand from India would predominantly cover the North and the South Island. The number of days that a traveler spends, an Indian traveler averagely spends more time in the South Island as compared to the North. An ideal holiday to New Zealand, what we recommend, should be at least a minimum of 13 to 14 nights on ground, because 2 full days goes in arrival and departure. 15,134 kilometers of coastline, and the highest mountain is Aoraki Mount Cook, which is in the South Island. Moving on to the North Island, a very commonly asked question would be, what is the difference between a North Island and a South Island? And do I really need to visit both the islands? Your answer should be yes. Both the islands are very different from one another. Geographically, on the earth, they are situated on different plates, and that's why both the islands look very, very different. So if you had to look at the North Island, it's got warmer climate, more population, shorter drive times, more cosmopolitan, geothermal, and volcanic scenery. This is all in comparison to the South Island. North Island, the main cities here would be Auckland and Wellington, which means a lot of people from different cultures and countries have settled here, and hence it's like a melting pot. North Island can be easily covered even in a coach tour, provided there are two major cities that you're visiting. The driving times and distances in the North Island between cities is much shorter than in the South. More populated as compared to the South. Remember, we said 75% of the people reside in the North Island. And it's got a bit of warmer climate because of the volcanic activities and the geothermal regions in and around the North Island. South Island, in contrast, would be spectacularly beautiful. It's got dramatic scenery, alpine driving and glaciers, less populated, cooler climate with hot spots, expansive plains and braided rivers. In short, anything which is a dream, anything that you would have ever seen in a Bollywood song, South Island is like that. Really beautiful. It's got mountains, beautiful lakes, clouds, everything pretty. And hence, from an average Indian traveler's perspective, we like to spend more time in the South Island. Also, it is excellent for driving. The scenery completely mesmerizes any traveler. Another question very commonly asked would be, when is the best time to visit New Zealand? I would say it's a year-round destination, but if you had a choice, you could avoid July and August because of the winters. Now, the winter in New Zealand is not very crude and extreme like how you would have it in the US or the UK. But just that New Zealand is a very outdoor kind of a destination. Your activities are all revolving around nature and outdoor. The weather conditions might sometimes disrupt those, and hence you would not be able to enjoy those activities very well. So apart from July and August, all the other months are great to travel. So if you had to see, their summers would be exactly opposite to the Western calendar, which would be from December to February, followed by autumn, which is March, April, May. Now, autumn for an Indian traveler is an amazing time to travel because we've got our school holidays, or people usually try to escape India because of the summers. And then New Zealand, it's not very warm or not very cold during the autumn time. And you've got great availability in terms of rooms and activities because it's the shoulder season in New Zealand. Winter would typically begin from June, July, August. Like I said, maybe July and August can be avoided only because of weather. You don't really have to carry heavy jackets. Light layers are fine during winter. But we do have a certain segment of travelers here in India who prefer to go during the snow, when snow falls, and they want to do some skiing activities. Not a large segment, I must say. You've got the Winterfest happening during this time, so people like to even visit New Zealand during these months. And finally, followed by spring, where the colors are beautiful, the flowers are blooming, which typically happens from September, October, and November. This again is a great time to visit New Zealand. So along with your booking season, which would be exactly related to your seasonality, so the high season, in short, would be from November to March, which is globally the scenario, and low or shoulder season would be from April to October. So be prepared. What to wear in New Zealand? You should carry light layers. Like I said, do not carry heavy jackets. That would just add up to your luggage space. But carry light, warm layers that you can take off anytime the sun's up. A light rain jacket. Like countries like Singapore, Malaysia, you don't really have a monsoon as such in New Zealand. It can rain just about any time. So a light rain jacket is important. Good pair of walking shoes. Remember, it's an outdoor destination. So you need to walk a lot. You need to really see some of the spectacular sights, and a good pair of shoes is important. A good sunscreen is pretty important. Ozone layer is very thin. And in winters or during autumn, you can carry some good, you can actually bring back some good merino wool from New Zealand. Moving on to getting around New Zealand, what are the best ways of exploring the destination? Yes, one popular mode obviously is your domestic flights. Your major airline would be Air New Zealand. It caters to almost all the ports across the country. Very well connected. It's a great carrier to fly with. And there are several other options which are small New Zealand owned airlines that fly shorter routes that have smaller capacity. We're typically talking about the charter flights here. Coach touring. This is great for our group series. Throughout the country, you can actually travel by a coach. It's only when you're transferring from your North Island to the South is when you need to take a flight. Else, you can completely cover the country through a coach tour. Some of the popular operators in New Zealand who operate coaches would be Great Sites, the image shown over here, or Inter-Island. This is a beautiful image of Milford Sound, which is in the Fiordland. This is actually the way leading onto Milford Sound in the Fiordland region. Do remember, if you're just doing 2 cities in the North Island, then probably a coach tour is great. You can just sit in a coach and explore those 2 cities. But if you're doing more than a couple of cities in the North Island, my recommendation would be to take a self-drive and explore the country. Inter-Islander ferry services. Now, like I said, New Zealand is divided by a 25-kilometer stretch of water between the North and the South Island, which means you cannot really drive from A point to Z. You have to either take a flight to cross over the islands, or the second option would be to take a ferry service. Ferries would typically mean huge ships like the one which is shown in this image. A popular operator would be the Inter-Islander ferry service. The ferry service takes about, when you're changing islands, traveling from one island to the other, it would take roughly 3.5 hours. It starts from Wellington and ends at a place in the South Island, which is called Picton. Yeah, most of the people who take a ferry want to do it because the route is extremely beautiful. It goes through this area which is called Marlborough Sounds, world renowned for its best quality wines. The ferry's got a lot of services like Wi-Fi, dining, information centers, all on board. If for a traveler who's doing the North Island via self-drive, he can also take his car on board the ferry. But what we recommend is to leave the car in Wellington and take a similar model of a car when he arrives into Picton. Again, ferry would make sense to people who would be at least staying in New Zealand for 18 nights or above. Because for that, you need to spend a couple of nights in Wellington, explore the city, then take a ferry and come down south. So if you think you have a traveler who's just having perhaps 13 or 15 nights, then maybe it's not a good option to recommend this. A flight would work perfectly. Self-driving holidays to New Zealand. This is the most popular and the best way to explore New Zealand if you're a good, confident driver. In this particular section, we'll cover the following contents like self-drive, why self-drive, planning your client's self-drive holiday, staying safe on New Zealand roads. Safety is of utmost importance. Winter driving, camper vans and rental vehicles, and freedom camping. The image over here is of our Bollywood star Siddharth Malhotra. When he traveled to New Zealand, we had a few shots taken of him in the car. He really seemed to have loved the experience. So why do people opt for self-drive? It's a great place to experience the country, freedom to explore more importantly. You can visit or you can explore the country at your own pace. You're not really following a time-wise strict schedule of a 7 a.m. wake-up call, 8 a.m. breakfast, and then leave. You can get up at your own sweet time and leave when you want to. Freedom to explore off the beaten track. You see a very pretty town, you want to spend some time, have a coffee. Well, self-drive gives you that mobility. Camper vans, which is perhaps not very popular. Camper vans also may be motorhomes, if that rings a bell. They offer flexible accommodation options. Now, this particular product is not really well known in the Indian market. So people try to research a bit, they want to do that. A very limited number of people are now trying to opt for this particular model. So the things that you need to keep in mind when you're planning a client's self-drive holiday would be, we've got a fabulous tool on our website, the traveltrade.newzealand.com. This is our trade website for travel partners like y'all. You can use the distance and time calculator. So we've got a section where if you don't know how much or how many kilometers or how long it takes to travel from A point to B point, then simply you can type the name of those two cities or the places, and instantly in a flash you will get to see the information like, well, it's about 90 kilometers. You can cover it by land, by surface rather, or by a flight, and many other options, and the time that you need to actually keep in mind when you're traveling between these two places. We've also collated a lot of good self-drive itineraries, and again, this sits in the website traveltrade.newzealand.com. There are a range of products and itinerary ideas. Do have a look at that whenever you get some time. It ranges from 5 nights to about 20, 25 nights. All that you can take is take a printout of those itineraries or simply email it to your inbound agent or DMC, and they could give you a quote based on those itineraries. Share it with your clients, try to read it yourself. I can assure you they are very, very different and very well curated. Include multi-night stops to give your clients time to recover from driving. So the rule is you cannot be driving for more than 8 hours, but also keep in mind that when you're driving or your clients are driving in New Zealand, try to take a break every 2 to 3 hours just to break the rhythm, to get refreshed, stop for a cup of coffee or tea, and then set off. Remember, safety is very, very important. So the driver really, really need to be well prepared. In case if your clients are opting for motorhomes or camper vans, then book accommodation well in advance. Like I said, we don't have a large population opting for this transportation model, but just remember, you can't just park your motorhome or a camper van just about anywhere. You have to go in a designated parking area or a campsite overnight. It is part of the rule and law of New Zealand. What else do you need to keep in mind? Some of the useful tips would be keep left. One simple way to understand is New Zealand has the same style of driving as we have in India. So it's a right-hand drive, okay, and left side of the road. Because being a British colony also, it followed the same thing. So right-hand drive again, left side of the road. Your Indian license is valid and recognized. You need not apply for a international driving permit. Yeah, as long as it's the card license with the chip, it is fine. The old license, which was a paper booklet, that's not accepted. Okay. Be aware of the different roads and driving conditions. So the weather changes practically every day in New Zealand. So before you set off, do look at the weather websites or the news on the television and accordingly plan your travel. So a couple of days prior itself, your clients will know the kind of weather changes that will occur. So ask them to keep that in mind and be ready for any changes that might happen suddenly. It's just so that it's not extreme and they don't get caught unnecessarily. Pull over at safe locations for pictures. Throughout New Zealand, especially the South Island, you'll come across beautiful landscapes and really picturesque scenery that your clients would love to stop and take pictures. Please keep that in mind, or rather tell them that you just can't stop just about anywhere and take a picture. I think our Indian clients are much more sorted in that manner. They would follow instructions pretty clearly, but it is very important to also stress that pull over, look out for proper signages, and then take pictures. Just don't stop in the middle of the road and cause inconvenience to others. We covered this next point, which is stay informed of weather conditions. Very important to keep that in mind, just to be better prepared. If you know there's snowfall, you need to go more slowly, or if there's fog, keep that in mind, slow the speed. For any such information, you can log on to drivesafe.org.nz. This is how typically it would look on a day, on a winter day rather, when it's just about snows and all that. So be aware of additional challenges. Check the weather and road websites, safety websites. Some of the agencies listed are Met Service, AA Road Watch, New Zealand Transport Agencies. Carry snow chains. Now this typically would come as part of your self-drive rental kits. Look out for black ice. Keep headlights on even during the day. So during winter, your challenges seem to be a bit more than usual. So speed is of prime importance. I think if your speed limit is under check, then you can evade most of the complications. So speeding is a strict no as per New Zealand law. A bit on camper vans and rental vehicles. So you can pick up a camper van typically from all the places listed here, like Auckland, Christchurch, Queenstown. The idea is to book early. Because of the limited capacity, you need to really book early, and it really is a very, very popular product among the Westerners. So it tends to get sold out faster. Some of the major companies of a camper van would be Maui, Brits, Apollo, Juicy, Spaceships. If your client is keen and interested, you can just log on to our website, newzealand.com, and research for these companies and start contacting them, or your inbounder for rates and inquiries. Freedom camping, do's and don'ts for your clients. So initially the term freedom camping simply meant that you could just about park anywhere. You didn't need to have like a proper permission or things like that. So if you saw that, oh, there's an amazing space, just the sky above, I could park here, But what used to happen is some of the travelers started abusing this facility, and they used to throw a lot of garbage and junk around, and the eco-conservation guys thought that this is not good, and hence this facility is no longer there. So you need to be responsible where you're parking. The idea is you need to go on a campsite to park, be responsible with waste, carry in, carry out, and the website given here would be camping.org.nz. In case you get confused with all the links that I'm telling you, a very simple way to understand one URL would be newzealand.com. This is our website, and from here on, you can actually check these individual sections and gather more information. A little bit more on the driving safety is because we want people to be very responsible and safe on the New Zealand roads, we've actually collated certain modules that will help you sell New Zealand better. Okay? Typically, if you go and see a screen here, this module is known as Driving Safely in New Zealand. So 10 years ago when we started talking, over 10 years ago rather, when we started talking about why driving is the best way to experience a country, it is one of the best, and we had people actually warmly taking up this idea, then we thought, yes, we need driving, but we need safety on our roads. We want safety of our travelers, and hence we introduced a lot of safety measures, a lot of information and educational tools for trade partners like y'all to actually understand what we are talking. One such example is this module, which can be found on our website, traveltrade.newzealand.com. You have certain questions, very easy to answer. And once you complete and pass through, you just need about 85% to qualify. Very, very easy. You don't have to spend a lot of time doing that, understanding that, but it's quick, very interactive. You don't have to write a lot of theses or long itineraries to prove a point. It's very interactive, like I said, it's more pictorial. You see images, you answer questions, you can complete the module and be more aware about what driving safely in New Zealand actually means. So just to look at one of the module here. So if you see, like I said, very interactive earlier on, you just have to select the icons to learn more about the speed limits in New Zealand. And this is how the topics would be. So it is not very cumbersome or heavy or taxing for you all. You can pretty much complete one module here in less than 60 minutes. I would really motivate and tell you all to please complete these modules, especially the driving safely in New Zealand one, because this is a very prime topic for our travelers who visit New Zealand. A few other screenshots to tell you more examples of the module. So you just need to click the icon to learn more about how to keep safe on New Zealand roads. Food and wine in New Zealand. Yes, a lot of people don't really come from India to just sample some wine, tasting routes and things like that. But once when they are in New Zealand, you do want to sample some local cuisines, Indian food and wine in New Zealand. So the places marked in blue are typically the regions which are very world renowned for the best quality wines, and you could actually frame up a good itinerary based on these key places. Under the itinerary section on our website, like newzealand.com or even traveltrade.newzealand.com, you can actually see a range of itineraries focusing on these regions alone. Typically, an average traveler, Indian traveler who goes to New Zealand, does not want to just cover these routes. They want to do something extra also additionally, and that can be all done. So apart from the wine trail, as we call it, you have more activities which is based on leisure, adventure, sightseeing that can really completely enhance the holiday experience. Some of the things that you need to keep in mind when you're selling a complete wine-driven itinerary, it's actually applicable for anybody and everybody. shorten time, keep places or keep things in mind that you can cover from one place to the other pretty soon, pretty quickly. Have a Maori cultural element. The cultural bit is very strong. Marlborough, which we covered, which is where the ferry actually goes to, is a great choice if you have travelers who love seafood and wine. Most of our clients prefer the Indian food, so that's fine, absolutely fine if you want to offer them those options. And there are several guided wine tours across New Zealand. So like I said in the beginning, our clients will not go to New Zealand just to sample wines, but some of the places that they can actually enjoy, sit back, relax, have a glass of wine would be more so in Queenstown. They can go on to a winery or a vineyard and sample some delicious wines, yeah? Talking about Indian food, we have a lot of restaurants across New Zealand, both the North and the South Island. The screen grab over here just typically tells you the range of restaurants that we have. This information of restaurants, a whole list in the North and the South Island, would be found on our website, traveltrade.newzealand.com. So you can just see from the images, it gives you information. And these are the well-known, yeah? There would be small ones also, but people who, or restaurants rather, who actually make it to the list or who are the better quality ones are only put in this. So you could see a range of cities like Nelson, Christchurch, Dunedin, Queenstown, Wanaka, practically every place in the South Island would have that. Indian food, by and large, is very popular amongst the Kiwis. Yeah. Halal food is widely available. We've got a halal dictionary also, a directory rather, on our website that you all can download and get more information for your travelers who need halal food. Now, we've been talking about the Travel Trade website for a long time. This is a one-stop shop for y'all. This is how it looks. And this is everything that you ever need to know or find out about New Zealand. As you could see from the topics here, if you need to plan a trip, the most easiest and simplest way that we do is we write to our DMC or an inbounder. But if you want to take a little bit more effort, understand the country a bit more, then definitely go into the planning trip segment. You will find the destinations, the cities, the regions, what each region has to offer. You can actually make you can get some in-depth knowledge on those. There are several training options. There's a training column. If we have webinars scheduled, you could be a part of those. If we have a training in market happening, face-to-face training, you can also log into this. Sales tools. How can you really enhance your New Zealand business or get more revenue out of it? You can see information tips under this section. News, events, updates, and so on. We also have certain courses like the New Zealand Specialist or the Pure New Zealand Specialist program and the online training modules. So like you see, under the planning trips, it's got a range of subtopics like introduction to New Zealand, itineraries, regions, accommodations, activities, directions, maps, themed holidays, undiscovered New Zealand. So there's nothing that is left here. Everything in this particular site, yeah? Training again, you could see the subsections here. The 100% Pure New Zealand Specialist Program, our online training modules, whether we are conducting a New Zealand FUMIL in the next few months, the training for your business, like I said, how can you increase the revenue and sales for the destination, training resources, the upcoming webinars. In fact, even you want to view a webinar recording, which is probably done through our office in Wellington, but to the other markets, you can definitely get a chance to view that. Videos about New Zealand and many other such topics. One thing that I would like to also highlight is our New Zealand Specialist Program. So the base category is the online training modules. Now these modules, like I said, one of them was the driving safety in New Zealand module, but there are 15 modules that you can choose from. All that you need to do is just complete any 10 modules, okay? Post which you will get a certificate, an auto certificate that pops up on your screen saying that you successfully completed this modules and also meaning that you know the destination much better now, okay? The other level of the program would be your New Zealand Specialist Program. Now here there are 3 criteria. You need to complete the modules. Also, let me tell you, the modules are free of cost. So you can start, appearing for those modules just about any time. You can complete a module, leave it, and join back later. On an average, I would say it takes about 45 minutes per module, but it's just not cumbersome. It's very easy and light for you to understand, and the questions are all very interactive. You will be seeing images and questions, and you just have to tick the right answer. So you don't have to write or create lengthy itineraries as such. The second criteria to be a New Zealand specialist is to attend any of our trade trainings. Now, for all those people who are on this webinar, you all have just completed that criteria. So yes, this webinar would be counted as a training. And the third would be a New Zealand visit. Now, we know that a New Zealand visit is not possible for a lot of people, but very shortly, we will be coming across with a big modification of the process or the program rather. So please watch out for some news from us shortly in the next couple of months on the launch of our new program. But in case for those of you who would like to visit New Zealand out of your own account, then we have something called the Explore New Zealand program. It's basically an online card that you can go register yourself into, just telling us that this is my in and out of dates for New Zealand. And you can start booking a New Zealand holiday at a great discounted rate. Yeah, all that we need from you, it's a free card, okay? But all that we need you to do before you apply for this program is to complete our 10 modules. That's it. And you will be getting the program or the card rather. And then you can start planning your itinerary, writing to the operators in New Zealand directly. We also have created a good site for Siddharth Malhotra's journey. It actually covers like a day-wise itinerary or program of what the Bollywood star did. He is a great brand ambassador for us. He worked really well. He was very enthusiastic, very punctual. So from an Indian perspective, he really kept our name high up there. He did a range of activities, adventure, slow-paced, high adrenaline. Information of all of those can be found under this itinerary. We've also created certain segments like the top 10 things he did, his most favorite ones that you can find out, his itinerary, how it looked like. You can actually take a copy of that and, curate it for your client. So many such things that we had. We had some videos that we had shot, images, everything on it can be found out here. Just to give you an example, create a trip fit for a superstar, Siddharth's top 10 activities, his videos, seasonal travel tips, and many such information that you can find in this segment. Just remember, the website would be traveltrade.newzealand.com. The way to an iPad mini is via New Zealand. Yes, we keep doing these contests for our travel partners like y'all so that y'all can learn more about the destination and get a chance to win also free things like this, So it can be an iPad mini or a phone. Currently the contest is over, but you can still keep trying and we will see what best we can do. So there might be a contest coming up shortly where we'll relaunch it. So just keep your eyes open because we like to reward everybody who likes to complete our online modules. Haira, simply meaning farewell. So when you think of New Zealand, please remember it's a very safe and a secure destination. It's got spectacular natural landscapes. Like 90% of the people who visit New Zealand is because they knew it's like a dream. They want to visit the country at least once. It's got lots to see and do. A place with excellent tourism infrastructure, great unique culture, and a place where visitors are warmly welcome. This is just for your information, my email address. So at any point of time, you all have questions on New Zealand, you all want information such as the Indian restaurant list or DMCs or local inbound operators, you need certain help with even visa processing, do let me know. That's my email address. I'll just spell it out for you. darshana.seth@tnz.govt.nz. Any information that you need on our activities, on how you can help sell the destination better, you'll need some marketing collateral, some posters, some videos, some touring maps, then please feel free to write to me. The smallest of questions, any doubts, I can send you links or videos or information that you can share it with your clients.
That ends an insightful presentation from Darshana on New Zealand. I'm sure you have all gained valuable insights from the webinar. We are now open to taking questions. Please give us a moment while we go through the most important and frequently asked questions. Darshana will be answering it shortly.
Hello everyone, it's me Darshana again. I'm just flicking through the questions that we've got on screens. The first one that I can see is visa issued through a paper or a sticker, and what is the normal validity? Usually visa is stamped or like a sticker on your passport. The normal validity would be for 3 months. Now this is the generic information. Your case can be different and the policies or regulations would really differ. Usually it's a sticker visa and 3 months, but it can also sometimes be only related to your travel dates strictly. So from, say, example, from the 1st to the 30th of April, your visa would only be valid. So it really depends from case to case, but on a generic note, it could be a 3-month valid visa. Sonali Chatterjee has asked us a question saying, what are the requirements for an Indian to avail self-drive in New Zealand, as well as what are the important rules to follow for an Indian for self-driving in New Zealand? Very good question. We covered most of those aspects in our presentation, but just to reiterate, you need to have a valid Indian license, a card license, and not like a paper booklet, the old version. That's not accepted. Usually when you're booking your self-drive or your car rental, you have to have a credit card, okay, that you have to share it with the rental company or your DMC. Safety, like I said, is very, very important. Do remember, when your clients arrive into New Zealand, and if they are on a self-drive holiday, try and book them a taxi, a private car, a chauffeur-driven car from the airport to take them to the hotel. Okay, this is very important because if they have sat on a flight for 18 hours, they're probably not fit to start driving immediately. Okay, that's the best way, especially when you're going into a foreign land. From the second day onwards, they can pick up their car from a city office. But on the very first day of arrival, our recommendation would be to book a normal car for them that will take them from the airport to the hotel. Speed limits need to be well under control. Even if you go ahead by 0.5, the law being very, very strict will not spare you. The notice or the penalty notice rather comes a month after your client's holiday. So if it means your client has even come back to India and if he was overspeeding at a particular point in New Zealand, he is bound to get fined and your client is bound to pay for that particular crime. Okay, he can't ignore or avoid that. Otherwise, he'll be blacklisted across all immigration channels, which means his next visa will be under severe scrutiny and problems. Okay, so speed limit, if you keep it under check, I think everything will fall into its proper place. Right-hand drive, left side of the road. It's very easy for our clients to get adjusted to those road conditions. Like I said, we have created certain driving modules. Please sit through that. The other websites that I've shown on my presentation have certain visual tests also, which your clients can take. So apart from you getting thorough with the topic, even before they land into the country, your clients will be well aware about the driving conditions, when to stop, when not to, when to travel. Everything is given on those tests, yeah? There's another question asked, is there any way I could save the presentation being used for the webinar for future usage and internal trainings? Yes, we'll definitely send you the presentation file in the next couple of days, along with some other information like the links that contain the specialist programs on the Indian restaurant list, or even like a booklet, e-booklet. So all this information will be sent out to you all. Can you please share the DMC list mentioning who are active in the Indian market? Yes, we've got some popular DMCs who know the market very, very well. And I will be shortly sending that when the presentation is going out to you all. So please be rest assured that will come across to you in the next few days. When is the peak season? Good question that we had even covered earlier on. Remember, like what happens globally, starting November till about February is super peak period, okay? Land inventory gets sold out faster. So it's very important that your clients book their holiday pretty much in advance. But if you had to be told, like just remember, November till about February is a busy time because it's all about Christmas. It's the wedding season here in India, so our honeymooners like to take off. It's, it's a period when there is less availability and rates are pretty high. You've got the Chinese New Year, you've got the New Year's. So just keep in mind, if you want a traveler, if you have a client going during this month, these months rather, then the idea is to book him early on so that you're not distressed. What is black ice? Black ice is simply snow or ice that falls on the roads because of heavy snowfall, but it is just black in color. So the tendency to spot it is very, very less. And there's a chance that your car or your bike can get, it can skid on it. So it's very important during winters and especially after heavy snowfall that your speed limit is well under check. And hence, the snow chains are given, so that your car is steady and doesn't like go haywire. That simply is like a definition of a black ice. If the client is using self-drive for their tour, how many days do we give them? Like I said, at least give them 13 to 14 nights on ground, okay, when they arrive. So that would typically mean it's a 15-day holiday. Let me tell you, an average Indian client goes for a minimum of 14 and a half days. So it's not really very tough to convince them to go for that time, because probably they might just go there once, okay? So it's better that they see the country nicely and at a proper pace and not make it very hurried, yeah? What is the New Zealand cuisine like? Okay, so we know the fact that there are lots of Indian restaurants, but New Zealand cuisine typically would be a lot like the Westerners. So, with the Westerners coming into the country ages ago, like the Britishers, and, the cuisine is not very, very typical. When the Maoris actually had come to New Zealand, the original inhabitants who discovered the land, it was to do a lot with the local food produce or the local vegetables. One example would be the sweet potato, okay, corn. All these are things which were found then because which is locally grown. But otherwise, if you had to see it now, it would be a lot more healthier. They have a lot of influence of salads and soups and anything which is not like really deeply fried. It's very, very healthy. Kiwis are, probably one of the fittest nationalities around. So they actually keep a good check on what the cuisine's like. So, like to actually be it very short and to the point, it would be any of those global cuisines that you need. It can be found in New Zealand. Yeah. Kaikoura, as such, there's a question asked, Kaikoura new route and current update. Just in the month of December last year, there was an earthquake. The damages in terms of human casualties was not there, but there were certain road routes that were cancelled or rather disrupted, and the city was on a standstill a while ago. But at this point of time, everything is back to normal. Kaikoura, remember everybody, the first thing that should come to your mind when you hear the word Kaikoura is whale watching. A lot of our travelers go to Kaikoura from Christchurch. You can do the activity, the whale watch activity from Christchurch, go to Kaikoura. It takes about half a day. It's about 2.5 hours one way from Christchurch, but it's very, very famous for whale watching. And it is one of the best humbling experiences when you see the largest mammal on planet Earth right in front of your eyes. So to talk about the current situation, everything is back on track. We have our visitors going to Kaikoura and coming back. Very few Indian travelers would be actually staying a night in the region, but otherwise as a day activities, all good to go. So there is a question asked, is there any time limit to complete the modules? I've started long back, say more than a year before now, looking forward to complete it. So basically what the user is saying is, do I have to complete everything at a stretch or can I like take a break and start over again? What happens with us is our modules are refreshed and new content is added every 2 years. Okay, so which means the questions change after every 2 years. You really should not wait for 2 years and then complete all the modules. My suggestion is if you started taking up a module, try and complete all the other modules in the very first month or very same month rather than waiting and then you lose interest. Okay, so that's the idea. But if there is something that you complete, for example, 5 modules in the month of April, and you want to complete the next 5 in the next year, in the next month, yes, you can do that. But the idea is to get the information of the destination at a good stretch and not giving a lot of space in between. Is it advisable to carry sunscreen even when you're traveling in autumn season? Yes, please. Sunscreen should be applied almost every day, no matter what the season looks like outside. It's it's an important factor that you need to carry. So just have to do it every day. Yeah. Any promotion for MICE groups from the government of New Zealand? So we do have a business event section that looks after all those requests. You have my email address already mentioned on the screen. So do feel free to write to us if there is any group. For us, anything which is above 50 passengers comes under the MICE category. So if you need some help, we usually don't do any value add-ons and things like that. But if it means to facilitate faster and efficient processing of visas, yes, we can do that. But it's a matter of an email. Give us a profile or a brief of how the group is, how many nights and things like that, and we look into your request. A very good question asked is normally from South India, many flights have transit stops in Australia on the way to New Zealand. Do we need to have a transit visa to travel through Australia? Excellent question. I must say yes, you need to have a transit visa when you're changing a boarding gate. So imagine if your destination is New Zealand, your final destination is New Zealand, you're not getting out to Australia, you're just transiting Australia. Transiting here would mean your flight arrives into gate A in Australia and the next flight to New Zealand is gate B. So you're actually coming off the aircraft at the airport within the same complex or the same zone of the airport, you're going into a different boarding gate for your next flight to New Zealand. That's transit. And for that simple reason, you will need an Aussie transit visa. In fact, the Indian airport authorities itself will check your visas. So if you have a valid New Zealand visa, but if your clients don't have a transit visa to Australia, they will not permit the client to fly on that carrier. Very, very important. And usually we recommend all our clients to go on a flight which is India, Singapore, India, Kuala Lumpur, India, Bangkok, and just straight away take the next flight from these hubs. If your clients are, or if you're based out of the north of India, we've got excellent connections in China Southern. Do explore that. Cathay is also a good option. There would be some hours of waiting at Hong Kong, but yes, you can explore that. So at least you don't have to go through a transit visa. Okay, that's the only reason. And besides, you don't want to spend 3 hours or 4 hours covering Australia and then moving on to New Zealand. There are several helicopter rides. So there's a question asked, we love helicopter rides, and are those services available? Yes, there are several helicopter rides both in the North and the South Island. Obviously, South Island is where our clients want to avail of a helicopter ride only because, like I said, it's beautiful. People want to take the ride, get on top of a mountain, do a snow landing, okay? So basically on top of the mountain, which is covered by snow, your helicopter lands, you can have a nice champagne breakfast, obviously at additional cost and things like that. But yes, all those facilities are pretty much there in our country. In the north, there are different landscapes that your client can experience. Like there's this one particular product that you can sit on a helicopter and experience something which actually takes you on top of a dead volcano. It arrives on a dead volcano and the guide will show you what happens or how things change when a volcano erupts, and you can see it in front of your eyes how the land or the earth or the soil looks rather. So there are different contrasting products that your clients can experience in the country. What is the best way to visit Rotorua for a day trip? Um, for this question, I would say if you're based in Auckland and you want to go do a day trip to Rotorua, Rotorua is about 3 hours away from Auckland and you can easily cover it, but which means you'll have to set off a bit earlier. And the best possible way is to go in a coach tour, or if you have a car, you can drive yourself and visit Rotorua and come back the very same day. If you need some materials like posters, videos, touring maps, we don't really produce a lot of brochures and things like that because we don't want to, we are like an eco-friendly nation. We don't want to produce paper, cut trees. So every information that we are talking about is stored online in the form of a PDF document, which you can easily save it on your desktop and use it. But yes, if you need some posters and things like that, or videos or DVDs, let me know. Drop me an email. You have my email address and I could send it to you if you give me your correct postal address, your name and your contact number. There's a question asked, which is a better place for dolphin and whale watching? Is it the Auckland Cruise or Kaikoura? Devanshi, and to the others, Kaikoura is excellent for whale watching. If you want to indulge in some dolphin spottings and swimming with the dolphins, a good place to do that is the Auckland or Northland region. That is excellent for dolphins. So imagine you're swimming in the water. If you're a very confident and a good swimmer, obviously that is, and you will have like a circle of dolphins around you. It's beautiful. So I would suggest for dolphins, you should be exploring the North Island, and for whale watching, hands down Kaikoura. Is there any local transportation available other than self-drive? Apart from that, locally, I mean, you have coaches that you can take or, travel in. But to think of, for example, as a destination like Europe, Europe is very well connected with an excellent rail system. New Zealand's rail system is not from a point like from A to Z, it's not that. The essence of a train journey in New Zealand is because of the scenery or the beauty or the journey rather. So only if it's a very beautiful route, the train operates from there. But otherwise, a self-drive or a flight perhaps or a coach tour is an excellent way of moving from one city to the other. Do you have an app for New Zealand tourism for tourists? Yes, we do have an app created. I think it's the 100% pure app. You can just probably go in, onto your smartphone app section and just download it from there. It's an excellent tool, very nicely done. In fact, all our websites and all are very nicely programmed. So if you need any information on those things, perfect. You can have it at a fingertip, yeah? So we typically as a tourism body are not entitled to create or organize packages with a cost. Our major objective is to motivate Indian travelers to go to New Zealand for a holiday with the help of people like you all, our travel partners and the New Zealand industry. We feel extremely proud that our trade over here, our travel agents, people like you all do a great job in promoting New Zealand. Our market is such that 60 to 70%, in fact, even more, want to book a New Zealand holiday to a travel agent. So you guys are really, really very important. You all do a great job. You all sell a New Zealand holiday in the best way possible, the way it should be. Okay. So my recommendation would be just to hone your skills a bit more, ask us questions, ask us for any help. Do visit all the segments that were mentioned in our website so that you all have much more updated information. We also send out monthly e-newsletters. So if you all need any recent product updates of what is happening in our country, every information can be found. So for that also, just log on to traveltrade.newzealand.com and simply register your email address that you want to receive e-newsletters, and you will get it at the end of the month. Yeah. So yes, again, we don't design a package for you with cost. We are not an inbounder or a DMC. We can tell you how a New Zealand holiday should be. We have certain itineraries, sample itineraries without cost that are on our system. We also have certain specialist agents who have put up their itineraries on our website for you all to check and see what is really popular from our tourist perspective. I'll just take up this last question over here. I mean, there are heaps of questions, but with the time and, the effort, I think one question asked, the last one being, what will be the best place to do adventure activity? I think New Zealand as a country as such, every place has some good adventure offerings, okay? Every place. Talk about Auckland, talk about Rotorua, talk about the Bay of Islands. There are several places that you can do an adventure activity. But I would like to stress that the hero for an adventure activity would be Queenstown. Remember Queenstown? So Queenstown is referred to as the adventure capital of the world. Okay. So if you want to do bungee jumping, you want to do, jet boating, skydiving, jumping off a plane, jumping off a bridge, jumping off a cliff, swirling and twirling in a fast jet speed boat, everything possible. You want to do some luge, you want to do crazy activities, everything can be done. So yes, the whole country offers a lot of adventure products, but Queenstown is a place to be. So this typically is the end of the question list.
A big thank you to all, and we truly appreciate the fact that you have taken time off from your busy schedules. I am sure the webinar has been informative and it will help you in enhancing your business interests. We are now logging out.